opened. And yeah, so ecosystems of social innovation, that's really a topic we at TU Dortmund University have worked on for quite some time. And I would like to quickly frame this a bit by, on the one hand, embedding it in a more general frame of on perspective on innovation. And on the other hand, also by zooming in a little bit by not only addressing the national level. Marta has already hinted a bit at the developments in Germany in recent years, which have been quite exciting, but also to focus a little bit on the local perspectives, which is, of course, of particular relevance in the field of social innovation. And after that, I will try to be quick, because afterwards Carolina will then follow up with a really exciting example of social innovation. But as you have already seen in the agenda, the main focus today is on interaction, and that's for us today the most important element to gather your collective expertise. But before we start now with definitions and such, I would like you to relax and enjoy some pictures. And I will now show you 3 stages of, I would say, the typical Dortmund in 3 different stages of time. And I would like to ask yourself, what innovations matter in such contexts? Here you see a very typical impression of Dortmund from the 1970s, also 1960s, where the urban landscape was dominated by coal mines, steel industry, also brewery industry. That was quite dominant. And as you can imagine, innovation was heavily related to industrial processes, about quantity and quality of steel production, for example, about urban protection or workers' protection, maybe also first technologies against pollution. That was the 70s. Now this says Dortmund 2016, but that really used to be the self-image of Dortmund from the new millennia onwards. This is really a frequently used set of pictures in the last 25 years by the municipality, also by researchers and other actors. And it really focuses on the time after these heavy industries, after they have disappeared. It shows that there's some infrastructural development. Dortmund heavily relied on, let's say, an intelligent reuse of industrial sites. And it said, we want to become really a service innovation city. So infrastructural focus. And the third set of pictures. These are pictures used by the municipality for their pitch, in which they applied to be the innovation capital of Europe in 2021, and which they finally won. And this again looks different. It's about quality of life. It's about participatory processes. It's about communication. It's about innovation for communities and neighborhoods. And why am I showing this to you? I think these pictures highlight the fact that the ecosystemic frame, the framework conditions in which you are living in, shape the expectations from innovation and also the needs and pathways to innovation and the opportunities really to innovate in a specific way. And I think this is very important. So the framework conditions in which we are living in shape the expectations of what innovation is supposed to do and which problems it is supposed to overcome. As a quick introduction, I would like to present to you some very few perspectives from traditional innovation studies that also matter for today's topic. Of course, innovation here says that it's a novelty that enters the world, right? The important thing is that it's not always about the world, but about a specific system. This means that an innovation, for example, in one city, like in Dortmund, can be a very old hat in another city, or like, for example, Florianopolis. Of course, an innovation also differs from a pure invention. I think this is quite intuitive, but it's still very important. So this means you need really strategies to diffuse innovation and to increase the societal uptake. Otherwise, you just have a pure invention. Third point, in many cases, there's a considerable time lag between the initial idea and the genesis of an invention, then really the rolling out and this invention becoming an innovation. For example, because you didn't have the right materials before that. And finally, many things we consider an innovation and homogeneous innovation really depend on a large set of different complementary innovations. If you look at your mobile phone, this is, I think, one example from the field of technology. But if you look at the phenomenon of car sharing and the prerequisites necessary for the, let's say, for the rise of this sharing system, that's another good example. As I've said, and also as Marta has introduced, we are going to talk about ecosystems of social innovation. And when we look at innovation literature, we see that a systemic or an ecosystemic approach is really nothing completely new in innovation studies. Researchers like Freeman and others have worked upon this for a long time. For example, saying that an innovation system is something that should be defined as all the important factors influencing the development, diffusion, and the use of innovation. And innovations then can be seen as the output, whereas the innovation system is constituted by a set of activities that determine the influence of such output. So, for example, whether an innovation is really successful or not. And we can later discuss also why there's a preference in social innovation research to talk about ecosystems and not just social innovation systems. Yeah, that was the quick part on traditional innovation studies. But as I said, our institute's focus and also my focus in the last years, and also this network's mission on social innovation in Germany is to better understand social innovation. And yeah, the recurring question is why. And I've brought you here a set of pictures, I think, which exemplify the challenges of our global society, which indicate that technological innovation is not enough to overcome these complex and massively interrelated challenges like climate pollution, aging societies, waste, poverty, and many other examples. And also at the bottom of the slide on the right-hand side, you see a small picture of the SDGs. And I think I don't have to go through them, but of course, this also makes it very clear that technological innovation and social innovation have to go hand in hand if even one of these challenges is to be overcome. So social innovation is on the one hand important, but on the other hand, there's a long way to go. If you look at what Jeff Morgan said 5 years ago, he said that the 21st century really has brought a cornucopia of new knowledge and technologies. So lots and lots of knowledge and technologies, but there's been only little progress in our ability to solve social problems using social innovation. So by a deliberate invention of new solutions to meet social needs across the globe. So this means we have to get better, which also includes learning more about social innovation through research. Talking about research, this is the definition of social innovation, probably known to many of you, that has guided the theoretical, empirical, and also transdisciplinary work of TU Dortmund University and of us in recent years. And it says that social innovation can be defined as a new combination or figuration of practices in different areas of social action. That's very key. So changing social practices is at the heart of our theory of what social innovation is. And this is a stark contrast to the perspective to technological artifacts on the one hand. But the focus on social practices is also a contrast to, let's say, a traditional view of social innovation where this was seen as doing something good for society. Because while I won't question the inherent motivation of social innovators, we consider social innovations always to be ambivalent and also to have, on the one hand, positive and also negative effects, which are, let's say, which have to be discussed from the perspective of different stakeholder groups and also of different points in time. So social practices are the key element of our view of social innovation. And in a very quick excursus, this is, of course, this is practice theory. And in this theory, social practices are characterized as basically stable. So we always repeat the practices again and again. And because this is very important for society, because this shapes our expectations. It shapes our expectations of how people behave, what we can expect from them. So it makes our, let's say, living together much easier. And at the same point, these practices are never replicated 100% the same. So there are again and again some micro differences in practices as you see, of consumption, how we consume things, how we work, how we travel. And by adding these micro differences again and again, significant changes can occur over time. And of course, they don't occur in isolation. If you look at a phenomenon like car sharing or different initiatives of social innovation, which you may have encountered over the years, it's not about doing one tiny thing differently, but it's about really an interconnection of changing different practices and then finding a common solution and thereby changing the larger thing. This means that if you want to be socially innovative, you must change quite a lot. And this is never given. So this is also one of the reasons why I think 90 or 95% of all the initiatives which want to bring about social innovations are supposed to fail. So what can be considered an ecosystem? Let's take a quick look at the so-called maybe macro level of a national framework. In 2022 and 23, we have researched the German social innovation ecosystem, and I won't go into all the details here, but one important thing is talking about the actors level, that all societal sectors, as you can see on the right-hand side, have been active in this ecosystem, and in the cases we have identified. This is quite interesting because on the right-hand side, you see the so-called quadruple helix, right? So the sectors of civil society, business, politics, administration, and fourthly, academia involved in social innovation. This is not representative, so this was not the intention of the study, but it's interesting because it shows a relatively strong position of academia. This is interesting because we had quite some contrasting results a couple of years before when we did a global project called SI-Drive, where we researched the involvement of these sectors in social innovation initiatives on a global scale. And there, academia was largely underrepresented. So academia was only involved in a small number, about 17% of social innovation initiatives. So it may be due to the different setup of the study, but it may also be due to some developments that academia higher education institutions are taking the topic, let's say, more seriously now than they used to do 10 years before. Marta has already hinted at some developments in Germany, and I would like to quickly comment a little bit on this, just also especially to give the international guests some perspective. Social innovation used to be largely ignored in German innovation policy. And this has changed massively over the last 4 years, I would say. So for example, you have that was very important. We had a resolution of the German Bundestag, which said, also supported by basically all political parties, that social innovations should be supported much more strongly, and their potential should be raised much more efficiently. That was a very important step. There were then upcoming steps. For example, there was a cross-ministerial concept on social innovation. I would say it cannot really be called a concept because it was more like a collection of things which have already been going on. So at that point, still the conception of what to do with social innovation in German innovation policy was still lacking. But then other steps followed. For example, different funding programs in which social innovations also from higher education institutions were supported. A distinct referate, so basically working group in Germany's Ministry of Education and Research was set up, focusing exclusively on social innovation. And the ministry also has a commissioner and representative for the topic for the public, let's say. Yeah, and finally, the national platform is something Marta has already mentioned, and we are trying and working hard to develop this platform also in many collaborative formats, and this will keep us busy also, I hope, over the next years. And finally, the national strategy for social innovation, which has been released last year, has also been a very important step because it details the different needs, what has to be done in Germany in order to provide social innovation with its place in, let's say, the innovation landscape it deserves. Yeah, so lots of things going on here, and policy really now has started to take social innovation seriously and change the innovation concept overall. And we hope that this is something that persists, I would say, because you may have heard that the political situation in Germany is not so easy right now. So the coalition fell apart, and there will be new elections in a couple of months. Nobody knows exactly when, but we are relatively positive that the topic will survive because all German parties, all democratic German parties have insisted that this is a topic that should be taken seriously in innovation policy over the next years. So this is a quick insight into one model of let's say, an ecosystemic model for social innovation, which we have developed at our institute at TU Dortmund University. And it differentiates between 4 different layers of social innovation ecosystems. And I would say the special contribution of this model is that it doesn't only focus on actors and roles, which is something other innovation system models tend to do, but it includes also different the layer of functions, structures, and norms, which are very important for social innovation initiatives to develop. It really helps, I would say, on two levels. On the one end, it helps practitioners because despite its relative complexity, you can use it as a practitioner and really also self-analyze the drivers and the barriers you may encounter in your local or regional ecosystem. But it's also important as a heuristic for research, and we have used it quite a lot. And for example, when you ask as an initiative, what can go wrong, right? When we try to develop a social innovation on the context of roles, you can say, okay, maybe we don't have sufficient participation of experts or learners, of people who are directly involved and are supposed to profit from the social innovation. This is just one example. On the level of functions, you may realize that the business model doesn't really work. So even though you are a social innovation initiative, you still need some sort of basic income in order to get the whole thing going. And you may also encounter that the functions your initiative is supposed to have are already covered locally. So there's no use for it. Thirdly, on the context of structures, you may realize very, let's say, easy or very easy things like we don't have sufficient public transport in order to bring the right people together. We may not have sufficient political support for our initiative, and other factors. And finally, on the normative level, you may realize that there are conflicts of what we're going to do with either national or regional legal frameworks, or maybe it's against the tradition. So maybe society is not yet ready to implement a certain and uptake a certain innovation you are developing. So I cannot go into more details here of this system, but I wanted to give you a very first impression of one opportunity to look at the complexity of factors influencing the development, either positive or negative, of social innovation initiatives. And so working in this context as researchers, I would just summarize now finally that I think we have a twofold challenge, right? On the one hand, we need to better understand the conditions under which social innovations develop. That's one thing, very important. But also, I think, in a new role as academics and higher education institution representative, we also have to co-create innovation ecosystems conducive to social innovation. But that's, again, I think, a question for everyone as a scientist to answer for him or herself. But also on a more general level, question for research and innovation policy. And yeah, after these introductory words, I'm now looking forward to Carolina's descriptions and insights into the Florianopolis ecosystem. Yeah, thank you very much. And I hand over to Marte again.
Yes,